So welcome everyone. My name is Paul Chang. I'm from AF Digital. We're going to be running a series of masterclasses to help customers and anyone who's using Salesforce Marketing Cloud or is potentially wanting to use Marketing Cloud and understanding the way that you can use it and how you can leverage it to really promote and provide a great customer experience and able to provide great journeys and be able to have your brand really I guess show customers or people that you really are thinking about them. Great, so let's start. Today's session is on Marketing Cloud data modeling and contact management. This is our first session. Just want to start off by saying who we are. Just here, so we're AF Digital, we're a trusted Salesforce partner. We are a gold consulting partner. We specialize in the cloud, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Community Cloud, and Datorama. We are all certified in those clouds. We also work with a lot of ISV partners that you can see there. And why we work with ISV partners is we know that we understand that Marketing Cloud or Salesforce in its ecosystem does actually have a lot of great ISV partners who've created great apps in order to help achieve what is required. So yeah, we can talk to you about those as well. Mark, well, what we do as AF Digital, we are actually a consulting partner. We look at providing advice for our customers. We provide Salesforce projects, so we readily or rapidly implement Sales Service, Marketing Cloud, Datorama, Community Cloud, and we also help with managed services, which we call Team X. It's where we allow and help augment your business, so we can help you as a customer or as a department really get the best out of Salesforce. I've just got a link down below there that we are listed on Salesforce App Exchange. So you can actually go see our certifications, you can see reviews from our customers. So yeah, really find out a lot about AF Digital and help you really get the best out of Salesforce. This slide is really just showing you that we're a one-stop shop. So we actually do cross-cloud, as I mentioned before, and how we work with our customers today is really to help them look at what they're trying to achieve. What is it that their objectives? How can we help them utilize the platform in order to achieve that? And we do that looking at health check to understand what's the lay of the land, what does the foundation look like? Then we look at what do we need to integrate? What data is required? What integrations or other platforms that you're working with? Then we start to implement our power-ons. That's essentially just getting you powered on in order for you to then start getting the best and the most value out of your platform or out of Salesforce. Then we train you, and then we look at how we can then provide managed services to keep helping you innovate on Marketing Cloud. So that's us as Salesforce. And just introduced who your presenters are today. Myself, Paul Chang, I'm the Salesforce Marketing Cloud Practice Director at AF Digital. My background, I've actually been using Marketing Cloud or been implementing Marketing Cloud for over 10 years now. I actually started when it was called Exact Target. So I've worked with a lot of customers in my time and worked on helping them really get the best out of the platform, whether it be from small customers up into enterprise customers. I actually worked at Salesforce myself when it was acquired by Salesforce, and I led the professional services team in managing enterprise customers in Australia. And that gave me the opportunity to understand every one of the customers on what they needed and the objectives, and helping them achieve what's required within Marketing Cloud. We've also got Maartje on the webinar today. I'll let Maartje introduce herself.
Hi everybody, my name is Maartje. I am a senior Salesforce consultant at AF Digital. I mainly do sales, service, and Marketing Cloud implementations. Marketing Cloud will be the majority of that. My background is social. So back in 2012, I started off using Social Studio. It was then called Radiant 6, which is the social listening enterprise tool of Salesforce. And since then, I've just grown and looked at the different clouds. I'm a big Salesforce fan. I'm 10 times Salesforce certified, and I'm also a certified Datarama solution architect. If you haven't heard about Datarama yet, I would recommend checking it out. It's recently been acquired by Salesforce. It's a great BI marketing analysis tool, so I can help you with that as well. All
Great,
right.
thanks, Maartje. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get started. All right, so the agenda for today, what we want to cover, this is a brief outline. We want to talk about the contact model in Marketing Cloud, talk about data retention, contact delete, and then data views and send logs. Now, we have allocated some time at the end for Q&A, but feel free to ask them throughout the session. There should be an option to ask your questions, and then we can handle them at the end.
Great. And just so you know how Maartje and I will be presenting today, Maartje will be going through the product and the details of each of these topics that she's got listed here. And I'll be adding some of the best practice of my experience that I've gained on understanding how customers should be using some of these topics or aspects of Marketing Cloud.
Yeah. All right. Let's get started. So the first off, we're going to touch base on the contact model, and the contact model is really important to understand because it's the backbone really that Marketing Cloud functions on. And if you've been using Marketing Cloud, some of these terms might be familiar to you already, but if you haven't, it is important to understand what the difference is between Marketing Cloud contacts and Marketing Cloud subscribers. So a contact is typically an individual that you send a message through to any of the marketing channels. So that can be SMS, emails, or push notifications. That contact will appear in your all contact section in your Marketing Cloud contact model. So in the all contact section, you have a complete overview of all the individuals that reside in your Marketing Cloud instance. A subscriber, on the other hand, is a little bit different. So a subscriber is somebody who's opted in to receive a certain type of communication or belongs to a particular channel. So I can be an active email subscriber, but I can be, for example, unsubscribed for mobile. So really manage the preferences for each of the different channels within Marketing Cloud. A subscriber lives in the individual studios, and they can be imported or manually created and are often stored in data extensions. Now, the one thing to note is that every subscriber is a contact, but not every contact needs to be a subscriber. So okay. So what Marketing Cloud is a really powerful tool that you can use, and what you really want to do is complete a marketing profile of the customer. And in the contact model, you can have different data sources that you can tie together to your Marketing Cloud contacts. And these data sources can contain different types of information. So we can have demographics, channel identifiers, preferences of that individual. You might have behavioral data. So then you're looking at, for example, the clicks, the opens, transactional data. If you're running e-commerce, any of the transactions that you might want to use in your marketing sense, and intelligence as well. So Marketing Cloud does come with predictive intelligence and Einstein, and that is obviously a very powerful source as well to complete your marketing profile. Okay, next we're just going to talk about the contact model. So if you hop into Marketing Cloud and into your Marketing Cloud instance and you go to Audience Builder, you will see a Contact Builder. And when you go to Contact Builder, you will see this, I often call it a spider web, Paul. I don't know what you call it, sorry. But it's the contact model, which is really, you know, the backbone of Marketing Cloud, as I said before. And what it is that the contact framework refers to the underlying data structure of the platform, where demographics and behavioral activity about people are stored. So some of these, as they're called attribute groups that you see here, they each store different types of attributes or different types of data related to my contact. And some of these are, for example, system attributes, such as all the email data and the mobile tracking data. And some of these can be other systems that you have integrated with Marketing Cloud. Contact Builder, however, is really the UI portal for that framework. So it easily allows you to see what data is in your Marketing Cloud instance and how the data is related to each other and back to the Marketing Cloud contacts. It just gives you that single customer view of an individual in your platform.
Great. And so just some of the best practice that I've picked up in my experience about the contact actually, and I've had a lot of customers ask me, how do I use Contact Builder and how do I really model my contact? Some things to note is that when building your contact, actually, please note that this is only to be used for journeys. So within Marketing Cloud, you've got Email Studio, you've got Journey Builder. Contact Model is all about being able to have that relationship set up so that you can, as what we've got on the screen, really show the who that single view of a customer is. So, if you look at a personal data, then you look at transactional data. Within the contact model, you're easily able to say the relationship between those two would probably be email address or your unique identifier, which might be your customer number. Then in Journey Builder, you can actually just grab that information quite easily as a drag and drop functionality. So it makes it quite easy for you to then segment your data when you are trying to create those journeys. What I always suggest is just think about the use cases when you are thinking about creating this attribute group. What are some of the journeys that you're going to be creating? What do they look like? What data are you going to need? I'm always a very big person to ask this. How do you thinking about backwards? Okay, this is the journey I'm trying to achieve. This is a customer experience. This is what I want them to be able to have and what data I'm sending through. Okay, great. So now I know the experience that I'm trying to do and I need the data I need. Now I can go back to the data sources to see, does that data exist? Where can I find that data and how do I build a relationship with that data? So that's what I would always suggest that you do. And also, one thing about Contact Builder, which is great, it provides you with everything that you need as far as filtering and then be able to segment, but it doesn't yet provide you with the ability to be able to give you segment sizes. So a lot of customers like, well, I can do the segmenting, but I want to know what segment I'm pushing through or the quantity. How do I do that? It's really, you still have to run those filters in Email Studio and see those, how they would look in there. So sometimes it's about really having faith and really having those conversations with your customers through a journey, and just knowing that that conversation you're having is going to help in provide a great customer experience. So those are some of my points on best practice on when using Contact Builder.
Great. Like I said, within Contact Builder, you have system attribute groups, so that really contains the data within Marketing Cloud, but we almost always integrate with additional data sources. These are some of the data sources that we integrate with. So we often have Salesforce CRM. It could be an external CRM as well. You could have your e-commerce data coming in to capture all those transactional sends. Your learning management system, data warehouses, any other external systems, or even your BI and analytics. So these are different systems containing different data about the individual, and that we bring that all together in that contact model in Marketing Cloud.
And just just one thing as well with the common data sources. If you are integrated with Salesforce CRM, it doesn't mean you can't bring data directly into Marketing Cloud. What we found is that sometimes, for example, if you're trying to bring transactional data and if it's not required in the CRM, you can actually just bring that data straight into Marketing Cloud and then form the relationships within Marketing Cloud. So there is a lot of ways that you can utilize the Contact Builder in order to be able to have that single view of your customer.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't all have to go via Salesforce CRM, like Paul said, as long as there's a common identifier that we can connect the data sources together. Okay, next is just the all contact list. So often I get the question, how do I know how many contacts I have in my Marketing Cloud? As part of your Marketing Cloud license, typically you buy a certain amount of contacts. And often people just want to check, am I over that contact limit, or how many contacts do I have in my account? So you can quickly see that via the all contact list in Contact Builder. And when you click on all contacts, that will give you the total number of contacts that reside in your instance. This will be any of the records from all subscriber lists or any data extension that you have been sending to. And it also contains very specific about a channel. So you see the all contacts list, but then I can also see per channel which contacts are associated to what channel. So you have SMS, push, or email. So some things to remember with the contact model is that the contact configuration only applies to a single business unit. So your contact model can be different across if you have several business units within your Marketing Cloud. Understanding the impact of the relationships across attributes in your contact model is very important. So you need to know how the relationship works. So with transaction, there might be a one-to-many relationship between Marketing Cloud, as I can have many types of transactions, and how you can link those attribute groups or those different data sources in your contact model. If managing multiple subscriber statuses across multiple channels, you have to make sure that the unique identifier is the same across all the channels. So the contact info is aggregated across the Marketing Cloud contact. So that means if my unique identifier, for example, which is not a good unique identifier, is my mobile or my email address, then that information won't be aggregated in Contact Builder under one contact because I have two different unique identifiers. So often you have an external ID, or maybe from your Salesforce CRM, you can have your lead contact ID, and that is a unique identifier, and then that can be opted into different channels, and I can see all that information under my Marketing Cloud contact record.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So there's things to think about when you are designing your data model about what would that be, unique identifier be, especially if you want to do cross-channel with SMS and email. Really beneficial to understand, that you should have a customer number of some sort that will identify that person and not have email address and mobile as separate identifiers within your data system. The other thing I wanted to mention on here is the contact configuration applies to single business unit. So with a lot of data models, when you are creating and you have several business units, there are a couple of ways you can actually integrate your data. You can actually integrate your data into the parent business unit, and then you can bring that data into each of the individual business units. So what that means, in the parent, you have a holistic view of your data, and then you push down data into each business unit that you require or that particular business unit should only see. And with this contact model, you do have to then rebuild the whole contact model in that business unit. So you're essentially, if you have in the parent account, you have personal data extension as one data source, transactions another data source, and in that you have different brands. You drive each brand down to each business unit. You have to ensure that you bring down each of the data extensions into every single business unit so you can recreate the contact model within that business unit. So just things to think about when you are working with multiple business units. I do always suggest that you think about that and how that's going to be created, because what you don't want is to come back and having to rebuild your whole business model or data business unit structure, and then having to start again, essentially. So it's always a good idea to think about not only what the business unit structure looks like today, but what does it look like 6 months? Are you going to be acquiring new brands? Are you does the data need to be siloed within that business unit? How many marketing teams are working with it? Is it marketing team centralized, or do you have marketing teams that work with each brand? And a lot of those, if you think about the answers to this question, will help you determine the best contact model for you.
Yeah, definitely.
The next slide I've got here is just on our best practice. So contact model, if you're not integrated with the Salesforce CRM, this is quite a key one, because we have a lot of customers who actually sometimes hit their contact limits. So if you're integrated with Salesforce CRM, your contact limits are what you synchronize from your CRM to Marketing Cloud. And that's what the number would be, and that's what Salesforce will count So some of the things that we do when we work with our customers is that we think about what is it that we need to bring into Salesforce or from Salesforce into Marketing Cloud. Do we need to bring all the data? Why do we have all records? Maybe you have records in there that don't have email address or mobile number. So we shouldn't be bringing those records into Marketing Cloud because there's no way to communicate with them through Marketing Cloud. So what we've done with some of our customers is we've created some Boolean fields that allows you to then have processes to only update that field should they meet up a specific criteria. And this helps limit your contacts into Marketing Cloud. The other thing, if you're not Salesforce integrated, essentially you can actually still have, for example, 4 million, let's use 4 million records in a data extension. But let's say only 1 million of those records are actually people that you engage with. Then you can have those 4 million sitting in a sendable data extension and they won't be counted to your contact limits. What happens is if you send an email to them, then it counts. So if you send an email to me, I get counted as your contact limit. If you send me an SMS, I get counted as a contact. If you actually evaluate me in a journey, then I actually also get counted as a contact. What that means is if you want to use Journey Builder as your tool to send and evaluate, I then use the 4 million records. All of a sudden, because that journey is evaluating 4 million records, just to get a filter out of it, for example, if you say, let's only find anyone who has transacted in the last week, I want to evaluate those 4 millions, then the contacts limits that you will hit would be 4 million because Journey Builder has now evaluated all those contacts and has added them to all contacts in Marketing Cloud. So really something to think about when you want to use Journey Builder and when you evaluate those contacts is to think about whether you need to, and maybe you want to create a smaller segment of that data within the data extension and only evaluate those records. So that's something to think about when you are hitting contact limits with Marketing Cloud.
Yeah, and like you said, just to be aware, when you sync the data from Salesforce CRM and have that integrated, as soon as that gets synced into a synchronized data extension, those contact leads will be created as Marketing Cloud contacts.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so there's a couple terms in Marketing Cloud, and it might be slightly confusing as what they are. So you have subscriber key, subscriber ID, contact key, and contact ID. So I just want to distinguish the difference between the two. So a contact key is very important because that's the unique identifier that you assign to a contact. So like Paul said, it could be a customer number. It could be an ID that we get from your Salesforce CRM or from an external system that is unique to that individual. The contact key identifies a contact within the account and it ties all the relationships together. So I might have a customer number and underneath my record resides my email address and my mobile number. And when I get sent different communications, all that data gets aggregated under my contact key. The contact key is the same no matter what channel is used to send the message. So that's why you should never really use, if you do multiple channels, don't use email address or mobile number because it's not a good unique identifier. The contact key is what allows you to connect contacts in multiple channels as well. Now the contact ID is slightly different. That's actually an ID that Marketing Cloud generates in the backend. It's a system generated number. And it uses that to uniquely identify a contact on the backend and relate all the events that are generated throughout the platform. So all the tracking data gets associated to the contact ID. A contact ID is not something you generally use or see. You can actually see the ID on the contact record, but just to be aware that it's not to be confused with a Salesforce CRM contact ID. Because a Salesforce CRM contact ID or lead ID is the unique record ID of the record in your CRM, and we often set that as the contact key in Marketing Cloud. But contact ID in Marketing Cloud is just a backend ID as well. And it's the same with subscriber key and subscriber ID as well. So subscriber key is often the unique identifier specific to that record. So if you have your contact key is maybe, let's say 123, and you use that contact key to send an email to, they will be created as a subscriber in Email Studio, where the subscriber key is the same as the contact key. So that then ties that data back to my Marketing Cloud contact. And the same goes for your other channels. And you will often see this when you create data extensions, is that it will ask you to set the relationship to the subscriber key when you create a sendable data extension. So you just got to make sure that you use the unique identifier, which should be the same across everything, as the subscriber key as well.
Yeah, and my questions, or typically with customers, is about the unique identifier. Is some of them is as simple as, do you need them to change their email address? If you do need them to change their email address, Marketing Cloud doesn't play very nice if you use an email address as a unique identifier. What that means is that you would have to have a call to make sure that that previous email address is unsubscribed, and then you create a new record as the new person with the new email address. So really what you're saying to the system is that person, Paul, is unsubscribed with email address paulchang@afdigital.com, but he's now, we have a new subscriber with paul@afdigital.com, and he is a new person, so let's treat him like that, and which means I no longer have the metrics data of Paul anymore associated to the new email. So those are some of the things that you'd want to make sure you take into consideration when you're thinking of your contact key or subscriber ID, or sorry, subscriber key, when you're designing your data model.
Great. Okay, so the next topic that we just want to cover, or Paul, did you have anything else you want to mention about the contact model before we move on?
Yeah, no, just to make sure that, you know, really the contact model is the key underlying factor of driving all your journeys, all your interaction with your customers. So really start to think about how you're going to use that data and what data you need. You know, I'm always a big advocate of thinking about what is experience look like in 6 months. You know, also just listening to your customers and seeing what data they're providing you. One thing that I always say is that customers will provide you data and will tell you what they want if you use it the right way. So really start understanding that. And another one of the sessions we're going to be running is how you can use behavior data in order to really drive more of that experience and relevant content to your customers.
I do see we have one question. What happens when you merge records in Salesforce CRM? Does Marketing Cloud merge them as well?
So when we merge them, I'm assuming
so you maybe have duplicates. Yeah, you have two contacts, you merge them into one.
So once they've synchronized into Marketing Cloud, they do not get merged in Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud still sees it as another ID. So the best thing would be to look at the contact delete function on how to remove them, which we'll be discussing as well.
Yeah. Okay, the next topic that we want to discuss is data retention. So data retention is really handy tool in Marketing Cloud, and I find that not many people are using it, and I thought it was important to highlight during this webinar on how to use it and what you can use it for. So data retention is, you can have different data retention settings on your data extensions, and it really controls you on how long to store any information or sensitive information. It allows you to be more organized with your data extensions. So you might be creating a lot of data extensions over time, and by having data retention settings, you can clear them out or deleting the data extension. Also managing your data storage. Some people, you know, having data spread out over many different data extensions, it does consume more storage, and just to keep it organized, data retention is a good option. And deleting any unnecessary information, which is not really no longer needed, for example.
just have a question here, Maartje. Is it advisory to store username and one-time passwords in Marketing Cloud? Passwords, I would not recommend storing passwords unless they've been encrypted. You should encrypt any of that information in Marketing Cloud if you want to store it in Marketing Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, so data retention, some best practice that I've got here. So data extension is great to use when creating ad hoc data extensions, but remember to set it to delete data and the DE. So what data retention allows you to do is actually, you can set it so you can delete the data, or you can delete both, or you can also delete it over time. So delete this data if it's 6 months in there, then delete it. So that works well in helping you managing, as the Maartje said, clean. You keep your everything organized and clean. But sometimes what you don't want is that you clean the data and then you've got a whole bunch of data extensions just sitting there. Some things that work well is maybe trying to overwrite data and not using so many data extensions. So really just remembering what is the use case for using data retention, and do you need to delete the data and the data extension, or are you going to reuse that data extension? Because if you're not going to reuse that data extension and delete both, if you are going to reuse it, then it's fine to do that deletion of the data only, and so that you're not having to, as I said, keep all this data unnecessarily. But do remember that deleting that data from a D does not delete it from the system. So it still sits in all contacts. The metric status is always still going to be there. So that's what leads me to our next point about some of my customers. They say, oh, well, I'm over my limits in my contact delete, so can you help us remove it? Yes, we can. But sometimes it's easier if you know that this is a data extension that you are just going to use it as ad hoc, and that you do want to delete this data so you're not hitting your data limits. Some of the reasons could be, oh, you know, we've just had this event. I just want to email these customers quite quickly. I've just got an email address, so I want to just send them an email. I know they're not on our data at all. So you send out that email, and then they might say, hey, like, we're hitting our contact limits, we're going to have to delete this. So by saving that data extension, it makes it easy for you to go in and use the contact delete function yourselves and just delete that data quite easily, because you know where it is. You can just go and say select DE and then delete it. Whereas some of the times when we've gone in to help customers, what has happened is that the data is no longer visible anywhere on the account. We can only access it by all contacts or all subscribers. So we're running SQL, we're trying to find out where all the data sits, and then we are able to do the contact delete. So that's just a tip from me in helping you really just utilize contact delete yourselves if you know that that data can be deleted completely at no time, to help keep your contacts down.
Great tip.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so some of the data retention options that you have in Marketing Cloud is that you can configure, or we recommend configuring the data policies when creating the data extension. You can also apply a data retention policy to an existing data extension, which has less than 100 million records. You can do that directly in Contact Builder via data extensions. By default, a data extension policy, so if you enable it, but you don't set a certain period, it will delete the unused data after 6 months, and this process runs nightly. Now, if you enable data retention on the data extension, there are certain options. So you can delete individual records, you can delete all the records in the data extension, or you can create, like Paul said, you can clear out the data extension, also delete the data extension. But it might be handy to sometimes just clear it out and keep the data extension there. The period options are after, so you can say after set amount of days when the data extension was created, then delete. So you might want to store that data for 30 days and then delete the data in the data extension. You can also reset the period on import. So that means that you might have a import into that data extension, and then it's resetting the data following a new import. And the other thing is that you can set a specific date. So if you say, you know, the 1st of January, we're clearing everything out, then you can enter that as well. Okay, Paul, anything else you would like to add for data retention?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Great. Okay, so the next topic that we're going to discuss is contact delete, and we get quite a lot of questions about that, so hopefully this is going to help. So why delete contacts? Paul, do you want to cover that?
Yes, so why delete contacts? So the number one, which you listed there, is you've reached your marketing cloud contact limit. Salesforce AE is calling you and saying, hey, your contact limits are over. We can then work out with you how we can get that increased. So I mean, if it's a viable reason that you've reached your contact limits where the growth of your contacts is due to you or your marketing campaigns, then great, fantastic. You really shouldn't be deleting contacts at all of any new contacts, but you should also look at the contacts that you have within that to see, wait, how many actual contacts do I have that are engaged that I can continue to work on? And so the reason I'm saying is that I wouldn't want you to, just because you reach your contact limit, let's start deleting. A lot of our customers, what I suggest is let's do a re-engagement. Okay, so let's look at the data that you have that actually has it's not been engaging with you, not been purchasing, and not been providing with you the what you need. So the preferable is to let's do a re-engagement program or journey, and then to see what type of engagement we're getting after that. Then we have a true indication of who we should be deleting. A lot of things that we do is we run this engagement. If you've got CRM, we actually update the CRM with a new field to say these are unengaged. And then at that point, you can decide whether you continue to keep them on or don't. It's easy to keep them in CRM, and then what we do is we remove them from Marketing Cloud. So that's one of the biggest reasons that why we do the contact limits or contact delete. We've got other reasons, contact sync with the wrong contact key or subscriber key, as I mentioned before. If let's say sometimes you've got email address in there, and then you've also got a customer number, then that's another reason to do it. What we've done with some of our customers is it actually happens more often than not that you have a customer number and you have an email address. Reason being is because you've got them as becoming a customer, so all of a sudden they've gone into your e-commerce or into your CRM as a contact, and then they get associated a contact ID. But you've also got people who are just wanting to sign up to your email program, and they're only getting an email address, given the email address. So all of a sudden now there's a mismatch. What we've done typically is we've gone and said, okay, let's look at the data that you've got as a customer, and let's look at the data that they're email subscribers, and let's start matching. And if we can find that they match it, then we update the contact, and then we delete the email address. Obviously, the implications there that you've lost the metrics data, but it means you're not duplicating your data and you're not emailing them duplicate or twice. And then we comes up to the managing duplicates. And then I've just got here the last point is, remember, if you're syncing from Salesforce CRM or any other data integration, you really need to remove them from there first before you do the contact delete. Because what happens, we remove it and then they just come back in. So we have to stop them from CRM, or you stop them from any data source you have, then we can do the contact delete. At that time when contact delete is happening though, if those records do come back in, they will cause errors. So just to remember that.
Great. So just an overview of contact delete, how the process works is that if you delete contacts to remove contact information from Marketing Cloud, you can delete the contact information to meet data compliances, maybe for GDPR that you want to delete. And this feature only applies to contacts in Email Studio, Mobile Connect, Mobile Push, or Contact Builder. So we mainly work with the Contact Builder where all the contact sits. And if you want to, by default, contact delete is turned off. But via Contact Builder, you can enable contact delete. And you will need to enable that for your account if you want to use it. And for Enterprise 2.0, the enablement occurs at the parent account level. I think, Paul, that was what you discussed before.
Yeah, we just got a question here about what about an update to an existing row. I'm not really sure I understand with regards to contact delete. I'm not sure, Ben, if you want to further expand on that.
Maybe it was for the previous.
Yep. We'll wait till Ben.
We'll wait for that. Okay. But yeah, how the process works is that you activate or you initiate the deletion process. You then have a suppression period, and then the contacts will get deleted from the account. Now, it's important to understand that during the suppression period, so that depends how long you've set the suppression period length, but any contacts, they can't opt in for any communication until that suppression period expires. I have more information on that here as well. So,
sorry, yeah, just Ben just clarified. So updating on an existing row. So when you say does the retention period reset? Yes, in the data retention, if something happens with that data and you update it, it does go back as in new. So it only deletes any data that's not been updated in that data extension. Just got one more question. If you delete the contact, do you lose all the reporting tracking metrics? E.g., the contact comes back with the same contact key and treated as a new contact. So if you delete the contact, in theory, it should delete all the tracking and because it should be compliant with GDPR, so everything should be gone. There have been, I know there's posts out there saying that there might be a soft delete. Soft delete, in my opinion and my experience, has only been when you delete the data extension, not delete them from all subscribers. When you bring them back, I think, in my experience, has been that the metrics has been gone and they are treated as a new person.
Yeah.
Sorry, Maartje, go ahead.
Nice. Okay, so some of the observations for contact delete or the things to think about is that the data retention policies that were previously discussed, they're not full or ensure regulatory compliance. So like Paul said, if you delete the data extension, you clear out the data, they still sit in the back of all contacts. So you still have data there about that individual. So if you want to fully remove an individual from Marketing Cloud, you need to clear out the data extension and delete that Marketing Cloud contact. So that could be a use case for GDPR, for example. We said before as well that we recommend the data retention settings on new data extensions where you can create it, but you can change that for new and existing. But for contact delete, when you set the suppression period to any value except 0, like I said, the contact can't be reintroduced their information by opting in until that expires. So by setting the suppression period to 0 days, it allows transactional senders to opt in as necessary straight after, instead of you are not able to send any information or opting them in during that time. The deletion process yields to other account activities. So we've seen this as well with certain clients. So when you're doing sending or importing or automations or query activities, that the processes can take precedence over the deletions. So some things to remember is that deletions through list or data extension are limited to 1 million records. Only the subscriber key or the contact key can be used to delete a contact. Email address is not an option. So you need to have that unique identifier to delete. The tracking data will still exist post hard deletion, but the data is anonymized. And the default period for suppression is 14 days, but this can be changed and it can be reduced till 0. Contacts get deleted from lists as well as sendable data extensions. However, non-sendable data extensions have to be part of populations in order to get deleted. Any contacts that you re-import during this process will cause an error. Anything you want to add to that, Paul?
No, that's
So the next topic that we have is data views and send logs. And again, really powerful feature of Marketing Cloud and what it is and how you can use them. So data views are system tables that store tracking data such as sent, clicks, opens, and bounces, and other information as well. This data can be exported to external systems in tracking extracts via Automation Studio. So for example, if you have an external CRM or an external system and you want to bring your unsubscribes in sync, then the unsubscribes sit in the data view in the backend. You can query that and you can use a tracking extract to export that to an FTP, where it can be picked up by external system to bring the unsubscribes in sync. Send logs, on the other hand, a send log data extension is an ongoing record of data that isn't really accessible via the standard tracking or reports in Marketing Cloud. You can enable send logs. You can ask support to enable that, and you can create a new data extension using the send log template. Just to note that every business unit can have only one send log data extension.
All right, some best practices of my experience. So tracking extract is rigid and doesn't allow you to add any fields to the extract. So I'm not sure if everyone knows, but tracking extracts within Marketing Cloud is you go to do a data extract. Instead of a data extract for a DE, you do a tracking extract. You can check the boxes and it will give you access to the data views as per what Maartje was alluding to on the previous slide. Metrics such as sends, opens, clicks. But it's very, as I said, it's the fields that are there and you can't add any additional fields. You can use data views via SQL to add in additional fields. And what we've done a lot of customers is that we've actually even just created relationships and brought in the other views, such as, for example, journey builder activity into the center view. So you can then start to see that person's journey through the journeys. There is also a not sent tracking extract, which doesn't appear as a data view. So I just want to highlight that one. Not sent tracking, it provides you with the details of why an email wasn't sent. So where this typically comes up in is that when you send out an email through a data extension, the data extension, you've got 100,000 in there, it then sends to 80,000. You're like, wow, where's 20,000 of my emails just gone? Yeah, so some of them will be unsubscribed, some of them will be bounced. The not sent tracking extract will provide you with the details of the job or the send of why those recipients didn't get those emails. So it's really a great report to help you understand why some of these emails aren't going out. The other one that I wanted to talk about is spam complaints. It's only part of the tracking extract. It's not available in data view. So we've had a lot of customers, well, I want to get the data view via SQL for an API. Unfortunately, we can't provide that. We have to provide it through the tracking extracts, and it goes to an SFTP, and which you would be able to pick it up there. Hopefully, you're not getting a lot of spam complaints, and hopefully you're following best practice on your email sending and delivery, and you're providing customers with relevant data. But there is a spam complaint that is triggered when someone hits the spam button on their emails. Spam complaint is also there's feedback loops through to Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which automatically will unsubscribe that person in Marketing Cloud. So those are really good to look at. The other thing I've got there is send logs. Send logs is a great tool as you can actually add in extra fields. A use case that we actually use send logs at sometimes is for send frequency. So as you know, Marketing Cloud, there's no real true way or out of the box functionality to use to say I only want people to get 7 emails, or sorry, 1 email in 7 days. So we've used SendLog in order to know what email has been sent successfully. And remember, SendLog only tracks any emails that have gone out successfully, to then be able to use that data to say, okay, which people have been able to receive an email in the last 7 days. Let's then put them in an exclusion list so that they don't receive an email in these 7 days. So there are ways we've done that with customers, and we're happy to talk to you guys if you want to ask any questions on that as well.
Yeah, great. This is a system data view relationship schema, and it just shows you the different relationships between the data views that are available. And each of these data views, as Paul said, can be queried. So you can have subscribers, which are part of certain lists. and their related information. So send, open, click, bounce, unsubscribe, compliant, and then also you can look back at job. So that's different emails, so journey activities, and then even journeys. And then any of these data views can be queried, and they contain some really valuable information. And by putting that in a send log or creating a send log using the send log template, you can, like Paul said, you can add additional information opposed to doing a tracking extract. So you can create a column in a data extension, and that data extension was created using the send log template. And it's recommended that those columns are 10 or less. You can then use a SQL or to generate it. You can use measures and filters to segment that information contained in that data extension. So that's exactly how Paul said. If you want to do a frequency, you could use that data extension as a filter or as a measure.
Yeah, we've also used, sorry, I just remembered one other one. A use case was we've actually added in the view online version as a new field, and you just use the standard % view online on the send log, and that will then bring through the view online version onto that. So you can actually have almost like an archive system.
Oh, that's cool. You can also use AmpScript to determine the content is displayed and pull the information from the send log data extension related to that context. So for example, you can have this different content displayed in an email based on data that sits in the send log. All right, great. Paul, do you have anything?
I think no. That's what we have for you today.
And we have some next sessions coming up. So this was the first one for our Marketing Cloud Masterclass, which is data modeling, but we're also doing a journey builder session next week. Same day, same time. And then after that, we're having some additional sessions for data segmentation, email building, landing pages, and mobile connect. So I have a link here where you can register for those sessions as well, if you haven't already. So yeah, we hope to see you then, and we hope that you enjoyed this session. And for any questions or any contact, then you can reach us on the website.
Yeah, just go to our website and we want to help you. So yeah, thank you again, and we'd like to see you on the next sessions.